Hey, it's Amir Borman, and this is the Daily 10 segment of the Talent Tango podcast here with my brother Arash.
Hello.
All right. So, yesterday we chatted about recruiting, marketing, and today we're going to chat about
The same?
pretty much. So, yeah, actually, we're gonna talk about something that sales organizations focus on is understanding your customer, understanding how they talk, understanding their pain points. And I think a lot of times when I talk about expertise, when I'm like, hey, in recruiting, we need to develop niche depth, that type of thing. People are like, well, I'll never do the job. So I'm never going to be,
A
as expert.
practitioner?
I'm never going to be a practitioner. And the problem is I don't think you have to be the practitioner. You have to understand the nuances, especially from the functional aspect of the role, understand the nuances, understand what language they speak so that you're able to understand what pain points exist, ability to market to them better, ability to get through the 50 other emails they're getting, right? Amazingly, the candidates open up a lot more emails than they'll ever respond to. And because most of it's just, copy, paste, blast junk, they're not going to respond to it.
Agreed.
But the ones that do stand out, that a little bit more effort was taken, you could tell the person, found something to resonate with you. You get the reply back.
Yeah, I think in general, like, if anybody's ever walked into the department store, I think that still happens. I think people don't just shop online now, but if you ever walked into any department store, you're shopping for a car, you can tell when somebody is being fake and or if somebody's kind of, trying to be one-to-one type of relationship with you. And I think if you fast forward to emails and different type of communication, you can still get that same feeling. You can still get that I'm a cookie cutter, one of many or one of one. So I think what a lot of times we're failing to do is put ourselves in the other person's shoes, right? If you were getting that many emails every day or whatever you're trying to sell, how would that actually make you feel on the other end? So I think a lot of the old school tactics you can just apply to new technology methods.
Yeah, I think the challenge here is if you're a recruiter that's working in one specific area, right? So I'm working in, a specific part of finance or I'm working on a specific part of software, whatever. You can build a persona and build out what fits around that person. If I'm
Sure.
recruiting across 10 different roles because, we're broader in essence, it's very difficult to really get to know
I agree with
10
that.
different types of people, the types of content they consume, their likes, their nuances. And then also if you want to target me as a recruiting company owner, if you understand the pain points that I'm going through, if you spend time talking to other recruiting owners and I could put my finger exactly on this particular
It's what
subject,
resonates with you,
it will
right?
boom, it'll definitely resonate. So I think if you're in accounting and you're reaching out to somebody and it's pretty targeted to the type of accounting that's being practiced, it's going to resonate. They may not have a need. They may not still go, okay, I'm going to respond, for the job or whatever. But in the end, at least they go, hey, I think this person knows what they're talking about.
Yeah, well, I think like right now, CCPA from a compliance perspective in California is a huge thing. So if you're dealing with somebody in compliance, that's probably one of the main projects they're working on. So I think it's to Amir's point to know and understand kind of what's happening in that person's world, right? As much as you can from a professional perspective, right? I think that can allow you to develop a better relationship quicker because if you can talk my talk, then I think you might know me better, right? And I might be more responsive to you because I'm more comfortable with speaking the same language, right? Obviously, we all speak English, if you're reaching out to somebody that speaks English. So again, if you travel, you go to a different country, if you can speak the lingo a little bit, the person's a little bit more comfortable with you. So I think it's the same kind of concepts, like from a very high level, like understanding like human psychology and why it works and resonates. I think it's just that familiarity and comfortability that gets you across the finish line.
So I could tell when I was being recruited, I could tell when somebody would approach me and they had no idea what business intelligence was about. And I
Sure.
could tell somebody who actually had done a couple roles because it basically would be, have you worked with this tool? Have you worked with that tool? Check, check. You could just see in their mind, they were going, check, check makes a good candidate. Didn't ask me, well, what were you doing with that tool? And then there was no follow up questions of, how was that? what business problem was being solved. Like there was no depth beyond that because they don't actually understand, let's say in business intelligence, you're solving business problems, establishing KPIs. Who were you talking to? There's other nuances there that if you knew, you would be able to again peel back a little bit more the onion, and your email would cut through because you would probably come with your first email and just be like, "Hey, are you working on these business problems? I have a client who's trying to solve these." And I'd go, "Oh, okay, that's interesting."
Yeah, no, I mean, I think without a doubt, knowing your end audience and knowing their role and what they do on a day to day, I mean, it can only improve your response rates. It can only improve how you interact with that group of people, right? I mean, it's just
And I think that's where you've got to spend the time. Go to go to Wikipedia, go to a meetup, go where your target profile is, and understand what they're consuming. You might not understand. So I went to last week in San Francisco. I went to a more of a blockchain oriented decentralized finance event. Am I an expert? No, I'm fascinated by it. So I went. I was curious, um, and some of the concepts were over my head. I mean, I don't know everything about
sure, of
decentralized
course not.
finance, but I quite understood everything at a context, and I was amazed at what's actually happening. But I think if I were to go, all right, I want to hit up cryptocurrency type, I know exactly the messaging I'd use to get to that because I just spent an hour and a half listening to the latest in the developments in that industry.
Well, it's what's happening in that world, right? I think like you use social media, right? Like what's trending on Twitter, right? So those are folks that are using Twitter's platform to tweet, right? And using it as a social platform. So obviously the trending topics are what people are talking about right now. So that's getting the most attention. So I think again, I think it's taking these concepts that are applicable and apply in a lot of different facets in your life. You don't even recognize that's what you're doing, and then you look at the recruiting world
Well, if you
and
want to
that's
travel,
there's a gap.
when you want to travel, anyone who's ever traveled, you don't go, I'm going to book a flight to Paris. I'm just going to show up.
There hey, you know what?
Right. Okay. All right.
There
Very
exceptions, but
few,
most people,
very
yeah, they do some
generalities.
research.
The 90%. You will before you even book the trip to Paris, you'll start looking to Paris, where you want to go, what you might eat, what you might do.
You have
Assuming
fun
you've
things
never,
to do there.
you will do some research to know, and then when you get there, you will be ramped up to know. Well, what's it going to be like? Should I? How do I fit in? People always go, what do I wear there? All those questions. If you look up on trip to Paris, these are general questions that people research.
Of course.
But when it comes to recruiting, right? We don't take that mindset. We don't take that mindset. So I think the big takeaway from like the way I take it, and I think you do as well, is you have to kind of try to find a way to put yourself in their shoes, not from the practitioner standpoint of you're going to be an expert in a CPA play. I'm never going to know as much as CPA, but I can understand a level of depth enough to have a conversation with the CPA if I wanted to not challenge him, but understand what that person is doing day to day.
Yeah, I think if I think they still make these books, Where is Waldo? I think to me that's the analogy I use is, Waldo was this one character within a lot of people and some scenes and in many books and many pictures, and you're trying to find where's Waldo. And I think it's the same concept. Where is your email or where is your outreach in correspondence to everybody else? So trying to stand out by understanding who that person is in their world, I think only gives you the best chance to interact with them at a level that they can actually appreciate that you did some due diligence, right? You didn't just put
This
them
is
into a
common though. This
blast.
is like, if you go look at HubSpot, personas in HubSpot is all they talk about. This is not something new. It's just I think in the recruiting world we don't apply it because the sales hat's always on because you're trying to close, not because you're trying to build that long term reach. You're focused on the here and now, and that's what the driver is.
Yeah, and I think it's also just recognizing that it's a long tail game. It's about building rapport and relationships and getting to know people. And sometimes you got to do some due diligence to find out about their world before it can help your world.
Absolutely. Okay. Until next time, leave us a review, comment on what you guys are doing to build these personas that you're targeting, and we'll talk to you next time. Thanks.